Detroit Mayor Mike Duggan for at least a few more days.
Yeah.
Are you ready for former in front of your name?
Oh, I'm definitely ready.
Yeah?
So it's been great, but a lot of packing and getting ready to move. And, I'm watching Mayor-elect Sheffield do such a good job of doing the transition. It feels like it's time.
What is that transition like as you move out of the Manoogian? You just like hand the key off, or what happens?
Yeah, I do. Of course, there's security at the Manoogian, so the security will stay when I go. But Sonia and I had the mayor-elect and Ricky over for dinner a couple of weeks ago.
Nice.
As this city gets to know the new first gentleman, they're going to like him a lot.
Wonderful.
And so we're walking through the house, showing them what's involved, and it's a natural transition.
What are you going to miss?
Well, the way the people have treated me in the city has been amazing, really, for 12 years. When the city was up or down, we had those terrible months during COVID when you didn't know who was dying tomorrow, and I was on TV every day. I couldn't believe how many handwritten cards and letters and people telling me I looked tired, I needed a rest.
You're like, well, I am tired.
I say, you don't need to tell me that anymore, I already got it. But in our toughest times and our best times, people in the city have just been wonderful to me.
Well, one of the things that we always hear about is the neighborhoods, and I think that's a nice segue to talk about the people of Detroit. And even now, as we look into the next term of the new mayor-elect, it's still this scream for what about the neighborhoods. Let's talk about then and now. Take us back to where we were to remind us how far the city's come.
Again, when you call it a scream, the last Detroit News poll shows 84% of the people in this city are happy with the job I'm doing, and 80% feel safe walking in their own neighborhood. So the screaming to me is maybe amplified from reality. But every neighborhood is different. We have 600 block club presidents in this city that have done so much to improve their community. And we've had areas like the Midwest area down near Livernois and Tireman that was basically abandoned railroad lines with thousands of tires. We built the new Joe Louis Greenway through their backyards. They have one of the most beautiful parks anywhere in America, and property values have come back and people are fixing up their houses. You go over to the Bagley area off of McNichols and Livernois, and we rebuilt that streetscape, and all those boarded up stores now have shopping inside. And so it's been a story of one neighborhood after another, but the block club leaders in this community have done a tremendous job, and University of Michigan's shown that homeowners grew $5 billion in wealth in 12 years. And so there's certainly more to do, but we've come a long way.
And when you look upon what you've been able to do, are you satisfied with what you were able to accomplish over those 12 years? Do you feel like job well done, or did you leave something on the table?
The city of Detroit has declined in population since 1957. It was 70 years of decline. And so I knew when I came in, I wouldn't finish the job. Mary Sheffield won't finish the job. The next mayor after her may not finish the job. But my role was to stop the decline. We were still in free fall on population, businesses moving out, police officers quitting, making $15 an hour and being forced to work 12-hour shifts. It was really scary how fast the city was declining in 2013. But I feel today like it's on a good trajectory. I think the next mayor is going to build on it.
So how did you do it? Take us back to 2013 when we had that, unemployment rate was high, blighted homes were high, street lights were out. I mean, we were just coming out of bankruptcy. We
were in bankruptcy. So at the time I got elected, we'd been in bankruptcy for 6 months. And the first thing was what Judge Rhodes did and Judge Jerry Rosen did in the bankruptcy. The biggest bankruptcy in the country before that had been Stockton, California, that went on for 3 or 4 years. Every month your city's in bankruptcy. You've got lawyers and consultants taking millions out in fees. And Judge Rhodes demanded the bankruptcy hearings be over in a year and a half. That was probably the single biggest boost, is he wouldn't tolerate the delays. And that allowed me to focus on rebuilding the city. But no, that first year we had 47,000 abandoned houses owned by the land bank. Today we have 1,000.
Wow.
And it's been quite a run.
It has been quite a run, and when you look at the change and the improvements that the city has made over these last 12 years, are there some key moments, some key accomplishments? I mean, you talked about the green space. You kind of lit up about some of the
no
changes in the neighborhoods. Do you point to certain ones to just say, man, we did it? I'm really proud of that.
You know, we had to do everything at once. We had blight. We had 275 closed and overgrown parks. We had to rebuild those. We had 65,000 streetlights, most of which were out. We had to turn the lights on, but probably as far as quality of life, the year I ran, we had 750 carjackings in this city. It's a terrorizing experience on everybody, and nobody was coming to town. But we built out the real-time crime headquarters. We hired more cops, and this year, with a couple of weeks to go, we don't have 750, we have 76, 90% reduction in carjackings. And I think the level of safety in this city probably has been as transformative as anything in the residents' experience.
When I think about you, I think about partnerships and relationships and bringing people together. And one part of that is your negotiation skills and the partnerships you had with nonprofit organizations, with automotive suppliers, automotive companies, banks, hospitals, getting people to come here, to expand their footprint here, and not just invest with their business, but you always had that negotiating tool that said, well, what are you going to do for the city and the people of Detroit?
Well, 200,000 people moved out in the decade before I got elected, which is just a stunning number.
Yeah.
I didn't get elected by the people who moved out. I got elected by the people who stayed. And so when I sat down with Fiat Chrysler and said, we're going to put a deal together for you to bring a 5,000 employee Jeep assembly plant here, I want Detroiters to get the first interview. And they agreed, and we hired really thousands of Detroiters into those jobs. And with Henry Ford Hospital, again, emphasis on Detroiters doing the work and building it. And you go one after another, Dan Gilbert, Chris Illich, Gary Torgo. I had good partners who were willing to put Detroiters first. And it became easy. And of course, City Council backed me up on all of these projects because they knew Detroiters were being put first in every single deal.
From training to making sure that someone who lives in Detroit gets that job or gets that loan from these banks to be able to start their own small businesses and communities.
So we've gone from a 20% unemployment rate to 8%. I'd like to get it down further, but I'm confident the next mayor will get it down further still. But these are the kinds of things that you think about. I think about the homicides being down almost 200 a year, and you think about 200 residents of this city each year are alive. That would not have been had we not changed the direction of the police department and our community violence intervention teams. Some of that stuff's powerful, and Detroiters, in their interactions with me, they deeply appreciate it.
Absolutely. I mean, and not just people that live in Detroit, that people that come and visit as well. I had a conversation with someone who lives out of state that was like, man, Detroit's awesome and it's safe and you can just hang out and come downtown. And it's like, I've been here my whole life, just like you. I know there were times when people who maybe were from Detroit, lived out of state, wouldn't even say they were from here because there was not that sense of pride. Now we're wearing it on our chest, you know, born in Detroit, Detroit versus everybody. It's been a big shift.
The shocking part is the number of times I talk to people who are from Birmingham or Plymouth and say I had friends in from out of state and I took them downtown. They are treating Detroit, downtown Detroit, as their city, and they're proud of it, and they're showing it off. That you couldn't have imagined that 10 or 12 years ago.
And you're a native Detroiter, so that has to make you really proud.
I still see the world through the eyes of my grandma who lived on 3-mile drive on the east side of Detroit where my father grew up. And of course, I was a kid who came downtown to the 12th floor of Wonderland to see Santa every year. These were our shared experiences. And to see, last Saturday, I was downtown on a freezing day, and the sidewalks were filled with shoppers carrying bags. I said, I had to stop.
Where am I?
I had to pull over and stop and say, this was my childhood. People on coming up to Christmas, walking down Woodward carrying shopping bags.
And when you have that reflection that this was my childhood, that this city has come back, it's been one of the greatest historic revitalization stories that we've seen in our lifetime, but it's our city. It has to give you a different sense of pride because you played a role in that.
There's no question. And I go back to when I was at Wayne County and chaired the Stadium Authority. I mean, it infuriated me in the 1970s when the Lions left for Pontiac. I was so angry they could keep calling themselves the Detroit Lions when they weren't in Detroit. And I led the Stadium Authority effort to bring the Lions back. It's been a lot of years. But when you get to partner with the Fords, Dan Gilbert, who also grew up here, Chris Illich, who also grew up here, Gary Torgo, who also grew up here. I had a lot of business partners. Mary Barra ran the Detroit Hamtramck plant as she was coming up the ranks and had an attachment.
The thread of that personal connection.
Case after case, I had people who remembered what Detroit was like, and they were just great partners in the process.
Those partnerships certainly have made a difference in your personal relationships. I think back to, as you started the conversation when we went through COVID, your relationships with Detroit Medical Center as a CEO, you were able to get a pipeline of needed materials and masks and all the things that we needed a lot faster than a lot of other cities just because of those relationships. So as we move into a new mayor, are those relationships and partnerships still going to be there, or is it unique to you, or is it for Detroit?
So I saw the other day that the HUD Secretary, Scott Turner, was in town. I spent some time with him, but I saw that Mayor-elect Sheffield sat down with him. She is setting the tone that says, I'm going to sit with everybody, and when she sits, she's going to advocate for Detroiters, just like I did. So I don't think you could get elected in the city today running on the old us versus them. I'm not going to work with people. And I think Mary Sheffield set the right tone.
You're big on that even when you were first running, 12 years ago, about that us versus them, black versus white, that kind of divisiveness. We certainly have that around our country, but you seem to have bridged that gap here in Detroit.
So the average person doesn't feel that way. I remember when I was running in 2013, and a group of Republicans in Grand Rapids did a fundraiser for me, and my opponent made a big issue. He's going to Grand Rapids to get Republican money. And I said, no kidding. And when I get elected, we're going to need Republican support from Grand Rapids to pass our legislation. If you want somebody who's going to fight with the rest of the state, vote for the other guy. And the average Detroiter said, that makes sense to me. The Detroiters don't. They understand they were suffering from this us versus them politics. And that's why I think this politics of unity has taken root in the city, and it's a big part of our recovery.
Take me into some of the negotiations, like something that you remember that was extremely challenging. I mean, nitty gritty. I don't know if this is going to work at all, and then the outcome.
There are so many of them, but every one of these deals was hard to pull off. When Mary Barra announced she was closing the Detroit Hamtramck plant, which was a shock, and I called. We were on the phone for a long time. Other people were attacking her and marching on her. I was saying, look, here's what Detroit has done for GM. Here's what I'm willing to do for you. Before you close anything, let's sit down. I spent a lot of time with Mary Barra and Mark Royce saying, okay, if we're going to convert to a different kind of a plant, trucks, not cars, potentially EVs, here's what we're going to need. And we worked it out. But this was true of everybody. I never sat down with anybody and said, give me charity. Now, the Pistons were probably the hardest. When Tom Goris bought the team, I sat down and said, come on downtown. And they said, we own the Palace. And they promptly put $30 million into renovating. And I said, I don't have any hope. Arn Tellem got put in charge of the team. I took him to dinner. I said, the Detroit Pistons belong downtown. And he said, I agree with you, but the numbers have to work. And again, we had Chris Illich in the room, who was a terrific partner, together with Goris. And now you look at downtown Detroit, not just the basketball and hockey games, but every concert is now in downtown Detroit. You look at what that means to the city. Those kinds of, let's make this work for everybody. I think there's just a high degree of trust when you do business in Detroit. I'm not going to attack you. If the deal doesn't work out, I never say a word about you. But people are finding it a good place to do business.
And the thing is, once you start getting a few in, now everybody wants to come.
Oh, yeah.
How about that?
And almost every time they set a parts plant now, I get the first phone call. And there's times people have come in who said, I want to put in this parts plant. And I said, I got to knock down a building. It's going to take me 6 months. They said, we don't have that much time. I said, you know what? I can't help you. Move on to another site. And I find they appreciate that as much as the deals that we do make. They know that if I can't help, I'll be honest with them up front. And if I tell them I can help, they know the deal is as good as done.
That honesty and transparency, I thought something interesting when you spoke at the Detroit Economic Club earlier this week, and you talked about some things we're seeing with these AI data centers and this frustration in some of these communities where they feel like they've been blindsided. We don't know anything about this. A lot of frustration between city leaders and residents. And you said things like that don't happen here.
Right.
How is that?
Make no mistake about this. The states that have the data centers are going to have the tech jobs of the future. The companies building the tech jobs of the future need that data for their businesses. And Ohio is moving, Indiana is moving. But what frustrates me is, I believe there should be a statewide standard that you say to every data center operator, you want to come to Michigan, here's the deal. One, there is going to be airtight guarantees that the neighbors' electric bills will not go up, that you as a data center are going to have to bear the entire cost of the addition of the power. Two, you are not going to run the water through the building and run it out into our water system and raise the temperature. You've got to keep a closed loop system where you refrigerate it, it's environmentally safe. And three, you got to engage the local community and get their buy-in. When Amazon first wanted to come to the fairgrounds, I had protesters saying Amazon's an evil company. I sat in the backyard with the neighbors, and the neighbors said, we don't want this empty asphalt over here. Give us landscaping, but give us new parks. And I took the money that Amazon paid to buy the land, and we built new parks in those adjoining neighborhoods. The neighbors came out and said, we want it. That's the way we should be siting data centers, in partnership with neighbors, with a clear standard. Everybody knows how it works. And eventually, when I get to Lansing, I'll establish that kind of a standard. But right now, the individual deals popping out of back rooms, they're causing anxiety among the local residents.
Now, are those deals popping up in the city of Detroit as well?
You need hundreds of acres, and we just don't have that kind of land. So we may have some very small scale, but mostly you're talking 500 acres, and we don't have anything bigger than 50 acres. So really, you need a statewide standard where the state of Michigan says, if you want to come here, here's the deal. If you follow it, I'll help you go to cities where they want you. And if you won't follow it, go somewhere else. And that's what we need to get to.
So we see a lot of businesses that are coming to Detroit. We have a lot of pride in the city, but the one area that is such frustration to a lot of us is our education system.
No question about it.
Nobody's coming here for the schools. In fact, a lot of people aren't coming here because of the schools. Why can't we fix it?
Yeah, and so, of course, the one thing that's not under the mayor is the public school system. And I think Dr. Vitti and the school board have done a good job with the resources they have. My biggest issue is the state of Michigan has diverted $1.3 billion of your 6-cent sales tax supposed to go to school aid fund to other things in the state budget. They've shorted DPS $75 million a year of money they were entitled to, which could have made a huge difference. And I realized the only way the schools were going to get fixed is if I went and took a different job.
Well, that's a good segue to what you're planning to do next. I've heard you say that being mayor wasn't even on your radar. So now all of a sudden, here at 6'7", you're on your way to trying to pursue the next role here in the city as the next governor of the state. Why?
So I'm impressed you know how to use 6'7". So that's good.
For your birthday, it actually worked for your age.
It actually does. In fact, I was out on the parade route, and the kids are saying, do it. And I said, how old do you think I am? It's 6'7".
There you go.
So I figured out how to bond with the 12-year-olds.
There you go. But yeah, a lot of people retire at that age. You're trying to take on the biggest job of your life.
I don't feel, my father retired at 83 and thought he was a slacker. So I don't feel anywhere near retirement. But you know, I look at where we are as a state, and I see the Republicans and Democrats tearing each other up in Lansing in a way I've never seen. And in the meantime, 60% of the third graders in Michigan cannot read at grade level. We lead the country in kids under 30 moving out. We're second in the country in unemployment, and these guys just keep fighting with each other because they want to be in charge and in the majority. And I finally looked at this and said, this reminds me so much of Detroit in 2013, where the political figures were so consumed with attacking each other and not solving the problems. I think I'd saying to the people of Michigan, if you feel like things are going well, fine, you've got a Republican and Democratic choice. If you feel like politics as usual is not serving us well, I'm going to give you a choice that says maybe we can actually spend our time solving your problems.
Do you really think you can have an impact on the divisiveness right now?
So when I ran for mayor, everybody said, you can't, it'll never succeed. You
That's
can't.
true.
You remember those days?
I do.
One of the even more popular than your news show sometimes was people going home watching the reruns of the city council meeting that day for all the chaos
Yep,
that went on.
I remember it.
People thought you could never get it. And you look at how professional
Yeah.
the city council and the city of Detroit have run for the last 12 years. Our professionalism has become a competitive advantage. And I do think most people originally run for office because they want to do things. And I think there's nothing about teaching third graders to read that's Republican or Democratic. You teach the kids phonics, you put them in small group settings, you back the kids who are falling behind with real tutoring. You don't change the curriculum every 2 years the way Lansing's been doing it. And these children can read. It's been proven in state after state. I think I can get people in Michigan to do it without fighting with each other.
When you look at the city of Detroit and some of the benefits that we've had, some of the tax breaks that we've been able to benefit from, some of the federal funding that we've been able to benefit from that we're not going to have for the next mayor, what does that look like, and what advice are you giving?
Well, again, we got $827 million in American Rescue Plan money. And I sat down with council and said, this is going to be one-time money. We're not baking into the budget, so you have to lay people off. And council was really good about that. So we built new rec centers. We took down the Packard plant and the buildings that had held this city back for a long time. We built the Joe Louis Greenway. We did one-time things with that money that actually puts the city in stronger shape going forward. So I think the city is actually, we're going to announce next week, we finished last year with a huge budget surplus again. Wow. That will carry over to the next mayor. In fact, I think it may be my biggest surplus yet that I'm turning over to Mayor Sheffield. So it'll be okay.
So what are some things that are in the pipeline? Like we've always seen from one mayor to the next, there's something that you worked on that's going to be big, but we may not see it for 4 or 5, 10 years.
I don't know about 4 or 5 or 10 years, but we were laughing today about the 100 buses that are coming in, the 70 new drivers we just hired, the mechanics, somewhere around next summer. We were talking about the fact that Mary Sheffield is going to be running a first-class DDOT system.
She's going to get all the credit.
And it's okay. It's okay, because it took me longer than it should have to get that in place. So there are things that I've done, but she was a partner every step of the way in that. But there will be some things the benefits. Certainly the Hudson's Tower will open, the JW Marriott will open, which will lead to more conventions. But there are things that Mayor Sheffield will do that will benefit the mayor that comes after her. That's the way a city's recovery should be. It should be one mayor building on the next.
And you did mention that, just one mayor building on the next, and that you're never going to be finished. There's always going to be something more that needs to be done. But what will be something that's coming up that you are really excited about?
I think what's going to happen on the Uniroyal site with Arntel bringing the WNBA franchise there, but a facility for high school basketball and volleyball and outdoor soccer and flag football. But also, I was pleased this week to see the state Senate move on the transformational brownfield bill, which not only will help Sterling Heights and Muskegon, it will allow the Renaissance Center project go forward so we can save 3 of those towers. And Dan Gilbert's going to build out a Navy pier. That's going to happen over 4 or 5 years. But those kinds of things, Detroit, the Riverfront Conservancy's done a lot. They set out to build a river walk. We are way past that now. We are building the most spectacular riverfront in America. And over the next 5 years, there's going to be nothing to compare to it.
That gives me chills, actually. When I think about, like, Navy Pier takes us back to Chicago. They built that years and years ago. As you just think about the city of Detroit, you know, what are we positioning ourselves for?
Well, Ronnie, you remember, I mean, 15, 20 years ago, I'd take my kids to Chicago, and I was so envious of their waterfront and the way they use that lakefront. You would drive down to go to the Shedd Aquarium. You would drive down to go to Navy Pier. And now, to see people saying Detroit, and USA Today rating Detroit the best riverfront in America, we've come a long way in a short period of time.
We have come a long way, and it has been a short period of time. That's the thing that's just like so exciting, is that it's been able to happen so fast, and we just want to see that momentum continue.
Yeah, it feels good right now.
It does. Well, congratulations to you.
Thank you.
Thanks for all the impact that you've made, and good luck in your next chapter.
Thank you very much.
Great.